I think it looks pretty good. So, welcome in everybody. You are here with Just Stamp. I'm Anna Marie, a demonstrator in Southern California. Since 2001, today I am sharing with you my free card class of the month. So if you place an online order of $40 or more, using the host code, I will send you the card kit to make the projects that I'm sharing with you today for free in the mail. So today's cards are based on the die bundle from the annual catalog. It's a super cute set, retro style, with the old school television set and some great sentiments. The old rabbit ears or antennas and little electricities, bolts, the little pixelated photo, those little cool retro style stars. It is a very sweet set, and the cool thing is it has coordinating dies, outline dies, plus some extra detail dies that you can just get extra elements for adding to your cards. So that's the set we are working with today. I'm also using some of the shapes from my Stylish Shapes dies. These are go-to dies in my craft room, and you will see those a couple times on different projects. All right, so let's get started with an easy card. This is one of the easier ones. It's retro style, and I am using on this one some designer series paper, also known as pattern paper. I know some people who are sort of new to Stampin' Up! Don't understand the Stampin' Up! Lingo. DSP is designer series paper, pattern paper, and I wanted to share with you the package of paper that I got that from. I don't have it handy. It is the Neutrals designer series paper. So you get sheets in different patterns and different styles in the Neutrals color family. The card base is Cajun Craze. I'm going to walk you through creating this cute little news flash card. Happy birthday. There we go. So I am using as my card base. This is again Cajun Craze. It's a standard card size, so it's 8.5 by 5.5, and I have scored it at 4 1/4. By the way, I have pre-cut many of the elements that I need for my cards, just so you're not here till midnight, because I think I tend to run a little bit long on my classes, and I apologize for that. I know your time is valuable. So what I recommend, if you are catching the replay on YouTube, you can always speed up the video a little so that you can be done in less than, I don't know, 45 minutes maybe. All right, so my first layer is going to be one of those Stylish Shapes dies, and I have pre-cut the circle in one of the new colors, one of the new neutrals. It's called Basic Beige, and it's going to be flat adhered to the card base. Now, I always say stamp before you stick, because sometimes you have to either turn the paper over, use the other side. Sometimes there's a step before you stick down, so much better to look at your project and determine what needs to be done in sequence. There we go. So I've just laid that down. My next layers are going to be the designer series paper. I am going to be doing some stamping and some die cutting. So I've selected, it's a pretty pattern on one side with all the leaves, but the flip side, the stripes kind of remind me of wood grain. And it's sort of the feel of the blonde wood from television sets of yesterday. So I'm using that pattern paper, and I am going to be stamping in Memento Tuxedo Black. So here's the first thing I'm going to share with you. You don't be alarmed. I have my craft stamping pad, and this was a tip I just learned recently, and I want to share it with you. And it's been very helpful so far. So this is, it says white. It is the craft stamping pad. It comes uninked. So instead of inking it up with white ink, I have inked it up with my Memento Black ink. For me, it's a little bit easier to stamp down. I don't have to worry about the lid getting lost or turning over on a surface where I don't want it to be. So yeah, I'm really liking the effect. So here we go. I'm going to stamp on my designer series paper. And when I have a large stamp, I prefer to turn the stamp over. This, by the way, is on a huge block. This is block E. And so if you're sort of new or beginner stamper, when you purchase these stamp sets in photopolymer or clear mount, you also need an acrylic block. So back in the day, our stamps were on wood blocks, and they took up a lot of space. They were very bulky to store on the shelf. These photopolymer stamps and clear mount take up about half the space on the shelf, but you do need a block. So there we go. I've inked that up. I am going to need to die cut that, and these dies are friendly for the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, which also happens to be on sale for an additional 10% off. So it's a great time to pick up one of the die cutting machines if you don't have one already. You know what, since I have my piercing mat out, I'm going to go ahead and do my other stamping. I'm going to be stamping that news flash greeting on the television screen. I pre-die cut it in white, and I'm going to stamp in black with the sentiment that says news flash. And that's going to go pretty much in center. And again, you will see I have already got this pre-mounted on an acrylic block. It's the size I like for the narrow, wide and narrow stamps. So it's clear block H, news flash. So that's a little bit of stamping that I need to do. I also need to stamp those little electricity bolts. So I've got a scrap of paper, of basic white paper. I am going to be stamping in crushed curry, and I'm just looking around for my stamp. There we go. So I'm just going to stamp once. Get that down. There we go. And so die cut. And let's see what we need to stamp on the inside, so I can just go ahead and do all my stamping at once. This is a happy birthday card. So I have my insert, basic white. It's about 3.5 by 4 3/4. I'm going to be stamping the happy birthday sentiment. If I have that handy. Here we go. I'm already losing things. Nope. Here we go. It's right here. I found it. And I'm inking up in my Tuxedo Memento Black ink pad, which it happens to be a white craft pad, but it's black ink. This is going to go in the center. There we go. Happy birthday. And I'm going to add the little stars elements that are part of the stamp set, and these are pre-mounted on block B. You might wonder why I use all the different sizes of blocks. I do prefer to use a block that is closer to the size of the images. That way you avoid getting extra ink in spots. It's a little bit easier to see through for when you're stamping down. Okay, so we've got that all inked up. I'm going to set these couple things aside. Let's do our die cutting. I am going to close up my pads. I will need that again, but I don't want to get inky as I'm die cutting. All right. Let's see. Hello, Sonia. It's so good to see you on Friday, the first official day of summer. All right, I am going to be die cutting. I'm going to use my mini. As I said, these dies are friendly for the mini machine. And I prefer to stack with the gray pad number 3. I'm going to put that on my mini and grab my coordinating dies. And I think that this bundle is on sale for about $35, or exactly $35. So it's a really good deal. And by the way, there is also a die for those bolts. And I share that because the first time I made the card, I didn't realize that, and I hand snipped them. So much nicer to use the die. I'm just going to put that right in place. And I'm going to pass that through. So, there we go. If you're watching the replay, give me a comment. What do you think about inking up that white craft pad? Do you think that would be helpful as opposed to using the standard tuxedo black pad? Okay, I need that die. I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to try not to lose anything. Bring that up. Get these bolts in place. And sometimes I will use a little bit of washi tape or some kind of tacky tape to hold that in place. Today I'm just going to hold my breath and fingers crossed it comes out in the right spot. And I think it's not bad. I've got my 3 lightning bolts or electricity bolts, whatever they happen to be. All right, so I think we are ready to assemble for the most part. Let's put all my little die cut pieces over to one side so I don't lose anything. And, oh, I need another layer of that beautiful pattern paper. This one happens to be Mossy Meadow. It is in the in the same package as the neutrals. And I do need my paper trimmer because I'm going to make a kind of like a little wonky shape. So it starts at about 4.5 by 3. I'm going to take off some the top. I'm going to angle it. This angle, for some reason, it reminds me of a little retro style, so I like that. And then we're going to do a little bit of corner rounding. So I have a little wonky shape, but wait, we're going to do a little bit more. I am going to take one of my old corner rounders, and I'm going to round the corners of this pattern paper. But I'm not going to do all 4 corners. I'm just going to do a couple of them. So I'm going to do the one right opposite as well. And to me, it just adds to the whimsy of the retro style. So there we go. And got that layer ready to go. And I have one more piece of designer series paper. I'm going to add this right inside. Let me share with you. I took a peek. So I just added it straight across on my insert. I'm going to be doing that with, let's see, I have a brand new bottle of Tombow liquid glue. And I am just going to put a little trail of liquid glue all the way across. And I prefer to do this before I layer it onto my card base because I didn't trim it to the exact size. Sometimes layers don't come out precise, so it's always easier to just snip them, but it's easier to snip before it's layered. How easy was that? So I'm going to bring in my insert layer, and that goes flat. Most of the time my insert layer is flat adhered. So there we go. And I'm thinking most, if not all, of the cards today are birthday cards. These cards to me could be for anyone. They could be masculine, feminine, older, younger. I know lots of us older folks probably like the little retro style because it takes us down memory lane with the way things used to work with the television set, right? All right, I'm going to do a little bit of layering up. I'm going to add my screen that says news flash. That happens to be the news story of the moment. I'm going to put that right into position. And I'm going to add my little bolts right onto my focal point art, and I've got some little tweezers to hold this tiny embellishment, and I'm just putting the tiniest bit of liquid glue and So again, I started with probably the more simpler card, which is just a little bit of die cutting and a little bit of stamping. The upcoming cards are going to include more of the stamps and more of the dies, a technique. All right, so there is my television screen. Let's add this designer series paper. Now I like it adding dimensions, so I'm going to put that on with the standard size dimensionals. And I want to make sure that it's supported on all corners. There we go. And it's pretty much going to go right over the circle. I'm also going to add the television set with dimensionals. So old school TVs, you had to get up and change the station, right? Sonia, I agree with you. I love the retro vibe. This look, kind of like mid-century modern look to it. The colors can give you a feel for the retro style. Also the shapes and the whole layout. So there we go. Now I like these little knobs. There's one, of course, to change the channel and one for the volume. And we are going to have some special embellishments I like to use. These are the adhesive back texture dots. I know that these are unavailable right now, but when they do become available, they're great ones to add to your embellishment stash. There's two sizes, and I think it doesn't really make a difference whether you use the larger ones, whoops, or the smaller. They both fit right on those knobs or those dials. And we can't forget, I'm going to put these away before I lose them, right through here. All right, we can't forget the rabbit ears, and I have pre-die cut the rabbit ears from the coordinating dies. Now there are two rabbit ear sizes. This one that I cut will actually accommodate the stamp in the set, and then the other one you could cut on its own with just a specialty paper or a colored paper. I'm choosing to use the wider one. I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive, bring this in, put it right over top of the television. Whoops, there we go. Make that stick. And there is our first card, our news flash happy birthday card with the Cajun craze and the wonky shapes going on. And again, there's our insert with those little special stars. So card number 1, let's put that aside. Card number 2 is going to introduce another technique, a new technique, hopefully. And I'm going to add, this card is cased from another demonstrator, another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Her name is Wendy Waldman. I love this style. And Wendy made a comment that she wished that the stamp set had a stamp for that star. If you notice in the stamp set, there is no star. However, there is a die. And so if you want, you could die cut those stars and place them on there. But I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm going to share with you how I achieved my background. Let's put that back here. And I'm going to bring in the supplies for this card. This card base is Coastal Cabana, and I'm using a layer of basic white. This is actually, the insert is 3.5 by 4 3/4. That's going to go on the inside. I have a black mat for the focal point art, and then I have a piece of white that actually is bigger. It's going to be cut down to 3.5 by 3 3/4. However, we are going to be doing a technique on that paper before we trim it down. So this background was created with that screen die. You can see we have a die, we have that shape. We don't have a stamp for it. So what I did, here are the stamps, what I did was create a mask. So I took that screen shaped die and I cut a mask with the window sheets, and I don't know if you can see all that. This is the sheet that comes when you purchase a photopolymer stamp set. Inside there is a sheet to secure the stamps to the case, and that's what I've used. It's a nice weight window sheet. So that's what I'm using. I took my die and I created the mat. All I did was cut into the window sheet. So the next thing I'm going to do, now that that's taken care of, I am going to do a little bit of blending onto the white cardstock. Now I'm going to flip that over. I don't want any writing on that. And I'm going to lay this atop of my basic white and put it right around there. Now it is a little bit bigger, so I'll be able to trim off some on the edges. And I'm holding this in place. I also want to hold the cardstock in place so that it doesn't slip around on me. So to hold that in place, I'm using my Post-it tape. And I'm just going to hold this down here. And as I said, I do want to hold the white in position as well. So I've got a tiny snippet there. And I'm going to get couple more pieces to hold this in place. There and here. Okay, so next I'm going to take my ink pad, Coastal Cabana. Go ahead and open that up. I need to push my little die cuts out of the way so I don't lose them. I have my blending brush, and what I'm going to do is lightly go over the mask. Now this is when the glass mat comes in very handy. I'm going to take some ink from the pad and I'm going to pounce that down before I blend it in. And I'm going to come in from the side and just blend this in. Whoops. And you can add as much or as little of the ink as you like. You just want to try and make it a little bit even. I know I'm going to go over this twice. That is lifting up on me. So this created that little retro style background. And instead of cutting the shapes from cardstock, I'm just adding the color with the blending brush. And what I find is you just need to be patient. Don't force the color onto your page. Be gentle with it, because you might wind up with that little glob of ink that we try to avoid. However, oops, there it goes, shifting again. However, you can always cover it up too if you do happen to get that little glob. So what do you think, Sonia? Would you try this? I will say the cutting the mask was probably the most time intense part of this project, because the dies are not easy to secure onto the window sheet. My Post-it tape would kind of just slide right off the window sheet, so I found myself doing it a couple of times. And you want to, if I were to make another mask, what I would do is position them a little bit closer together. they're a little bit wide out. And I think just because it's a background pattern, it's nicer to have them closer together. All right, so you can see I've done one layer, and I do want it a little bit darker. So I'm going to go through and do another layer of blending. Maybe apply a little bit more pressure to get more color on there. So again, this is Coastal Cabana. It's kind of a monochromatic look as well. It will be layered onto a Summer Splash card base, which is just a little bit brighter, has a little bit more color than the Coastal Cabana. I think it's a fun technique. I agree. The effect's going to be nice once we lift it and reveal the shapes that we've got. But we're not quite finished yet. We still have a little bit more to do. And I'm going to go through one more time, see if I can get a little bit more color on there. Okay, so this is probably my third round on it, and I'm finally getting happy with the amount of color on the cardstock. But as I say, you really do need to do it in layers, otherwise you're going to get those globs on your shapes. And all right, so there's that first layer. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take off this mask. I won't close up the pad yet. I'm going to take off this mask. So there's my, it's starting to come together. I'll leave that tape down. Starting to come together. I have a second mask that I created. Same effect. I don't know if you can see, there's the star. Remember, we have a die but no stamp. So I created another mask. I'm not going to put it in the center because I'm going to put my greeting in the center one. And I like it when I have the image landscape orientation. I'm going to have this star a little bit wider. I'm going to place that right onto my cardstock. And now I'm going to bring in a dauber, and I am going to bring in my black ink. Remember, this is black even though it's a craft white ink pad. And what I'm going to do is add my stars to this layer by just dabbing on the black. So in essence, this is my star stamp. And I only did one star because I'm just going to lift it and move it. So there's one, right? And let's see, this one is another wide one. Oops, looks like I have a little bit of black going on there. And just going to dauber in this. I'm not sliding the dauber over because the mask itself is going to be delicate. The die cut has some very narrow areas, and I don't want to disturb that. Now I have a portrait style shape going on here, so I'm just going to rotate it and add it in place and dauber that. There we go. Pretty simple. It gets easier. So the possibilities are there, right? You could do this with other stamp sets and bundles as well, where you're sort of, you feel like you're missing a stamp in the set. Just create your own. And I'm not worried about going all the way to the edge. I am going to be trimming this down, and this is exactly why I have started my cardstock off a little bit bigger than I needed. I wanted to have space to secure it down with the Post-it tape. And then also the ink tends to be a little bit heavier on the edges when you first blend it in. So let's see, I'm going to keep going. I have a couple more here. So this is a very simple card, really, once you create your mask. Just a little bit of ink, so it might even qualify for like the Stamps paper ink, the SIP card. All right, so there we go. There's our background. So you've done the Memento re-inker on the white pad. I think it's a great way to use that tuxedo black pad. I like it better than the original pad that it comes in. Now, just fair warning, before we bring in our other layers or anything else, I'm going to wipe down my mat because I do have ink. Remember, I was falling off the edge of the cardstock, and the mat does come with the wipe, the chamois wipe, so I can take care of getting it clean easily. And for those customers who might want one of these should be available to customers in July. This month they were available to the demonstrators who missed out on it when they were first introduced earlier in the year, and next they will be available to customers. All right, let's do a little bit more stamping. I'm going to add my greeting. So this is another happy birthday stamp. This one's going to say happy birthday on the outside. I'm going to bring it in here, stamp my greeting, and I'm going to bring in those cute little stars, but I'm just going to add a couple of them. First of all, it looks like I need to clean my stamp. I'm going to bring in my chamois. Clean that up. And I'm going to use just the two smaller stars. So for me, it's an easy thing to do. I'll show you what I do. I take just those stars, I'm going to bring it up to the edge of the pad and just ink up the stars and the two shapes that I want. Then I can stamp down onto my card front. And I just repeated this a couple of times. And let's see, shift that. Here's where it gets a little bit tricky, trying to find the spot over top. There we go, and one more. And I can see I inked up a little bit more than I want, so I'm going to start over. I'm trying to be really careful here. There we go. I'm going to ink this up right here. All right, so I'm happy with that so far. It looks like I've got my background going on. I'm going to close up my pad and let's see. I am looking for, okay, I already lost it. I have an insert. There it is. I see it. Call off the 911 call. Let's go ahead and do our stamping for the insert before I put my ink pads away. So inside, I'm just stamping. Typing, where did that come from? You're super, so it's happy birthday, you're super. And I'm using black ink. And I'm going to do the electricity bolts, and I need to clean my stamp. And I'm using, again, black. So inside it's just black. And it's just coming off there. There we go. Okay, I think I can close up my pads. Right there. Bring in my card base, which is Coastal Cabana standard card size. And I'm looking for, there we go, my glue. Make sure you just see what happened. I almost put that on upside down. Thank goodness I checked it. Yeah. Okay, so right there and there. All right, now that is the card base. What I want to do is trim this up, or sorry, trim up my front layer. I'm going to set that aside. By tidy up, I don't lose things. I find that, right? Put it away. Okay, then let's bring in our paper trimmer. And we're going to bring in our background, or top layer. And you see, this is what I'm talking about, why I wanted it oversized. That way, that's where the tape was holding it in position. I'm going to bring this down to, what did I say? 4 3/4. So right now it's at 5 1/2. So I'm going to zip off a 1/4 on each side. So I want it to be 4 3/4. And then the other side, I want it to be 3 1/2. So right now it's at 4 1/4. So I need to trim off quite a bit. So 3 1/2. Right in there. All right, so there is my card front, all trimmed up. We are going to mat this onto our black mat. This layer goes on the black flat with the Tombow liquid glue. There we go. And I have the mat measures 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. So it's just an 1/8 bigger than the white layer. And this one's going to be popped up with dimensionals. So I'm going to be kind of generous and make sure it has a lot of support. All right, there we go. And I have lots of embellishments on this card. So I'm going to start off with the die cuts from the coordinating dies. And I can see I didn't put them back. Oh, there they are. It's a trio of little stars. I pre-cut those out of the silver foil specialty paper. And I'm just going to adhere them with a little dot of liquid glue. And I'm going to put that one rather close. Whoops. A little too close. There we go. Get the middle size star. And add that a little bit higher. And a smaller star. So this card front is going to have 3 kinds of embellishments, you'll see. There we go. So the second kind of embellishments after our little die cuts, I'm going to be using the iridescent faceted gems. And these come in 2 sizes. Doesn't matter which you use. I'm going to put these in position atop the little stars that we created there. Let's see. Like so. All right, so there's 2 of those. I'm gonna put that away before I lose it. Then I'm also gonna bring in my all-time favorite embellishments, which is just the basic rhinestones to add a little bit of shine. And we're gonna use, let's see, 1 there. We'll put a couple up on top. And then down below. So lots of sparkle on this happy birthday card. You're super. So there's card number 2, using our self-made mask and our self-made stamp. So there we go. Nice little happy birthday card. I'm gonna keep going on to the next card. Let's see if I can make sure I've got some working space. Let me put my things away. So this card class, it can be yours for free. Everything prepped, die cut, and shipped to you with a $40 online order using the host code, and you have through June 28th. All right, card number 3, stay tuned for a very important message. So still that nice little retro look. I'm using a couple different elements on this. This one is going to have some soft embossing. I have an embossing folder I've pre-embossed in the paper with. This is on Lost Lagoon. And the other coordinating colors I'm using are Pretty Peacock and Crushed Curry. So I have a layer, and again, I pre-die cut my pieces so that you don't have to watch me die cut. I have my background layer that I have soft embossed with the Dashing Designs embossing folder. So really cool geometric pattern. And then this card features the Full of Life 6x6 Designer Series paper. This is an amazing, colorful paper pack. Lots of options you can pick from those starbursts, all the different colors of the spectrums, the squares, the circles. I love this paper. It's absolutely colorful. All right, so that's what we are using. And I went with a sheet that had the Lost Lagoon hints in it. So let's get rid of some of these layers first. My card is the other orientation, so I cut vertically. Still, it's 11 inches tall, 4 1/4 wide, scored at 5 1/2. There we go. And just gonna use my bone folder to get a nice crease on that score line. And I can go ahead and layer this onto the card base. This is the embossed layer that's 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm just using flat adhesive to make sure it sticks nicely. And I'm gonna have about 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. So here we go. We are getting ready for birthdays with this Tune In bundle. Lots of fun cards. All right, so there's my card base. My next layer is that Designer Series paper. And this measures 4 inches by 2 inches. So you just need a nice little swatch. And I'm gonna place that about 1 inch from the base. Put that down. And you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and add my little stars. Now these are die cut, unlike the previous card where I just sponged them on. These are the die cuts. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of adhesive on some of those star points. So the other colors I'm using on this card are the basic beige again. What am I thinking? Let's see. Crushed curry, and I've got a pebbled path antenna. And basic beige as well. All right, so there we go. And all right, this one's going to come right around there. All right, so we've got those elements taken care of. That way I don't lose them. Let's see about the insert. I have just stamped it with some of the stars, this time with Pretty Peacock. So let's go ahead and take care of the stamping. We've got 3 things to stamp. And again, it is a photopolymer stamp set, so I'm using my piercing mat. And the outside greeting that says "Stay tuned" is going to be stamped in Early Espresso. And this is on block H as well. Sometimes I forget to mention the block. It's nice to have all the sizes. I know some people try to get away with just a couple of the sizes, and that's fine when you're still building your collection. Oh, I'm almost going to stamp the insert. So stay tuned on the outside or the television screen. There we go. And on the inside, what have we got? We have the stars, so I need to clean off that stamp. And I'm going to have to grab my Pretty Peacock pad. So Pretty Peacock, and I'm just stamping a couple sets of these stars across the bottom. Good. Just to decorate the front as well. And before I lose this layer, I'm going to go ahead and insert it. I have a fear of, can you tell? I am fearful that I lose all the things on my countertop. Especially, I mean, I do that all the time when I'm crafting, but when I'm filming, it's another story. I don't want to be hunting down all of my supplies all the time. All right, so there's the insert. I'm going to push that aside still. We need a television set. And for this one, I'm on crushed curry, and I'm going to stamp with Early Espresso. So I need to clean my stamp. Earlier I was stamping in black. There we go. And again, I'm just going to take the pad to the stamp. Go ahead and stamp that down. We're going to do a little bit of die cutting again. Snip this down so it will pass through the mini. I'm just going to cut straight across here. Bring in the mini again. Television die. There we go. So many fond memories of these television sets and childhood. Who had to get up to change the television set? Who had to get up to fiddle around the rabbit ears. There we go. Put that there. All right. And this one's a little bit different. I'm going to pop the screen, the television screen on with dimensionals. Give it some depth. And flip that over, add that to my screen. We're going to add this to the card front, again with dimensionals. Oh dear. And I'm going to bring that over. This one I'm going to angle just slightly. Stay tuned. We need to add our antenna. A little liquid glue. This will go flat right behind the television. I feel like that has too much glue. Let me take a little bit off. There we go. Bring that in. And again with the embellishments, and I'm going to do the same as I did earlier. I'm going to bring in 2 embellishments. I've got my rhinestones and I've got my textured dots, and I'm tending to alternate between the sizes on these dots so that I don't deplete all the sizes. So now I'm using the smaller ones. There's my knobs. These away, and then I'm going to bring back my rhinestones. So, and you could pretty much place these wherever you like. The general rule is to use odd numbers, but you don't have to follow that rule. You could do as you like. Sometimes it's nice to put them in pairs. And there you go. Stay tuned for an important message in Lost Lagoon and the Friends for Life paper. There's our 3rd card. Stay tuned. So that one you could it doesn't have to be a birthday. You could do a congratulations, a happy retirement, wishing you the best day. Could have been a Father's Day, whatever event or occasion you need a card for. Thank you, Sonia. That's so sweet. This is the 3rd card in the class. I think I have one more, and I shared this one earlier in the week. This is the monochromatic with the spectrum splash of color. And again, I'm using the Neutrals Designer Series paper for my background and my television set. The card base itself, so let's look at the elements that I've got going on here. The card base is going to be pebbled path, and again this one is cut the long way, 11 inches, scored at 5.5, 11 inches by 4.25, I should say. There you go. I have my DSP, my pattern paper layer, 3 inches by 5.5, and this works out perfectly. That way you can get 2 cards with one 6x6 sheet, and then we also get to have that pop of the pretty pebbled path paper peeking behind the layer, so it works out well. Just like so. And here is one of the reasons I like to do this layer first. It's a little bit long, so what I like to do at this point, this is the easiest time to fix it, and you'll notice if you nudge it down just a tiny bit from the score line, it's easier to cut on the open end as opposed to the folded edge. So now I've got a nice clean layer going on there. Nothing sticks out. Yeah, I like the pop of color as well. So then I've got my stitched circles. Let's see where I've got everything going on. Let me move these over. I'm going to need a scrap for my television set. I'm going to need a screen for my television set. And here are my stitched circles. I should have a white as well. There it is. Now this layout I took from page 22 of the annual catalog. There are, I think there's 22 card sketches, and they are great jumping points to get your cards started with the layouts. This one has just the circles background, and of course you can interpret the sketch. You don't have to do it exactly as it's shown in the catalog. It's just a starting point. All right, so I've got my background going on, and I've also, let me show you how I cut my spectrum. I'm going to put that aside for just a second. So the spectrum was cut from the die in the coordinating set. There's one die that will cut all 5 of those swatches of color. And what I did, I picked out my color spectrum. I wanted nice bright colors since I had a monochromatic background. And if you know the color spectrum, it's the reds, the orange, and then yellow or green and blue. And the way I remember that, I know I used to teach first graders this, the spectrum goes in Roy G. Biv, so R for red, orange, yellow, green, and blue. So I've cut that die in all of these colors, and of course you get 4 little color swatches, and I actually save them because you can use them for 5 cards, right? If you cut 1 in each color, you're going to have 5 of those. So I'm going to pull what we need. We need our red, and for another version of red I used Melon Mambo. My orange is pumpkin pie. I'm skipping over yellow and combining it with my green. So red, orange, yellow, green, and then blue will be my Coastal Cabana. And there we go. There's our color spectrum. Very easy. And then I'm going to just collect these and put them right back in my little baggie for the next card that I do. So I have enough to complete 3 more cards. Let's put our spectrum onto our television screen. And let's see, starting to lose things now. That's because I didn't tidy up. I'm looking for my tweezers to hold my little paper swatches. And I found him. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick up my Poppy Parade. Put a little bit of glue. Put that at the end. I'm gonna go with Melon Mambo, which is still actually a red. Orange or pumpkin pie. Right center. Yellow or green, Roy G. Biv. Pretty easy to remember this sequence with that little acronym. And then the Coastal Cabana. Looks like we're going to have to squeeze that in. I should have put them in a little bit tighter. I usually start from the middle. So that's my word of warning. Don't do as I did, as I say. It's a little bit off, but I'm okay with it, right? It's handmade. And I have just a tiny bit of glue I want to pick up. There we go. All right, there is my television screen. I'm going to need to do some stamping and some cutting as well. So I need to stamp again the television screen. Or sorry, the television, not the screen, but the television. And I'm doing it this time on my neutral, which is, I believe it's smoky slate. I'm going to be stamping in my black. Right, like so. There. And I need my greeting that I'm going to stamp on a scrap of white paper that says "You're a Classic." And this is going to be hand snipped. There. All right, a little bit of die cutting and fussy cutting. So let's do the die cutting first, because I have a feeling that once I fussy cut this, it's going to be easy to lose. Always worried about the losing. All right. All right, there's that. And I need my platforms. Yeah. So here is what I've lost. Where are the platforms for the mini? Let me look around. Drops. Alrighty, there we go. So stamped image, die cut. All the die cutting for now. There's that. All right, now I did add a little bit of outline to the television set so it could look as though there's actually another layer. So you can see I've outlined around that line art on the stamped image, and I'm using my dark smoky slate, and I'm going to use my pen tip and just go around and fill that in. And that just, it almost looks like you have another layer. And I have to concentrate as I'm trying to color almost a straight line. It's not quite straight, but it just, some of these tasks require me to focus, otherwise I mess up. I don't know if I'm the only one or if that happens to others as well. There we go. Just that little bit of ink makes it pop. I'm going to add my spectrum. Spectrum of color. Secure that on. All right, and before I lose the television, I'm going to add it to my card front. This goes up with dimensionals. And look how pretty the backside is as well. I love this pattern on the DSP. These leaves are just, they look very tropical, and the whimsical flowers on the pattern are super sweet. And I find I do use this designer series paper pack often. It gives you all the colors. So your possibilities are limitless. And this is going to go off slightly to the side. Let's add the antenna before they get lost. This goes down flat. Just a little bit of adhesive. Great. So first day of summer, I know I'm going to be taking a nap after this. The heat makes me very lazy, very tired. And there we go. There's the antenna. And I need my greeting. And I need my paper snips. I'm looking around for the paper snips. I've been using them all day. Now I can't find them. All right. 911, what happened to the paper snips? I see my ribbon scissors. Okay, so they can't have gone too far. Let me grab others. Okay, hang on, I found him. Okay, so the classic is shaped, so I'm just going to follow the line of the script curves. I love this style, combining the two fonts. I think others do too. That's why Stampin' Up! Continues to do it on so many of the greetings. And I'm just going to follow this along. And kind of cut in close. Right through here, right there, and swing it around. Here we go. Not too bad. There's my classic, and my your is going to be very simple. Right there. And there. All right, again, let's get our tweezers. And this gets flat adhered, so just a little dot of glue. And I'm going to put that in position. Your, and then the classic. That right there. And then again, we're almost finished. We need to add our embellishments, and just like the other couple cards, I'm going with both the embellishments again, using the rhinestones and the textured dots. So let's put the textured dots onto the knobs. Got stuck. Some of these are getting kind of hard. Oh, the glue dot fell off. Let's see if I can pick that up. Get that. Wow. Some of these are getting to be a struggle for me. I don't know if anybody else has these issues. Am I the only one? I'm trying to grab this with a bit of the, there we go. Maybe that'll work for me. There. Okay, I need one more. Let's try the tweezers. That was easier. Oops. Push it over. Or not. Guys, my last card. Okay, and let me add the sparkle with the rhinestones. Let's see if these come on a little bit easier. So, there. And there. And on this one, I'm going to add about 5. And then 2 below. There we go. All right. There is the 4th card. Oh, we need an insert, right? Okay, so there's my insert. And what did I stamp on the inside? Happy birthday with those little digital squares. So let's get our jammy. And you know, I make it a point to do the insert, because what I find when I don't do them, then I have a bunch of stacked cards, and when I reach to use one, drats, it's not ready. I have to get out a paper trimmer, cut, and stamp. So it's much easier to just do it when I'm making the card. So I want a happy birthday. I'm using Memento Black there, and then we're going to add a little digitized or pixelated squares, just like so. How cute. All right, now we're done. Only to adhere on the inside, bringing back the card. I'm going to flip this over, and I am going to just flat adhere this to the inside. And I'm wondering, how am I doing for time? Should I even worry about the time anymore? I think I've run longer than I always intend to. All right, that was 4 cards, which is pretty good if I got in. Let's see, it has been a little bit over an hour. Not bad for 4 cards though. So your classic, that monochromatic with the splash of the color spectrum, the Stay Tuned with the Lost Lagoon, the Happy Birthday with the mask that we created, and then finally the news flash. So 4 different looks with that Tune In bundle. If you would like the kit to create one each of all of the cards, it is yours free with a $40 online order. I will give you the link right above the video in just a moment. Use the host code and I will pop this in the mail. You can order anything you like. I do recommend the Tune In bundle or any other die bundle that's on sale right now. You will want to be on my email list so that you get advance notice of the upcoming classes and the exclusive tutorials and other projects I share as well to the email subscribers. So guys, thank you so much for popping in and joining me. Please leave a comment if you either are watching the replay or if you're watching the live. Let me know you were here and what you think of the cards. Share the video, please, if you know of someone else who might also enjoy these projects. If you came in late, if you had to leave early, please pop over to the YouTube channel Just Stamp with Anna Marie and you can catch the video there. Let's see, what else did I want to tell you? Oh, thank you, Barbara. She says she enjoyed the video. I'm so glad. I hope it inspired you to make the cards, but also to send the cards. These make lots of people happy. Staying tuned. Let's see, what else did I want to mention to you? Thank you to those who have already placed orders for this. By the way, they will ship all together at the end of the month. I'll cut once, but I have already received some of the orders for the class. Thank you so much. And I will see you next time. Thank you for joining.